Right, we're good to go.
Hello and welcome back to the There's a Floodlight That Never Goes Out podcast. I'm Tom, and as always, I'm joined by Will and Ed. How are we, guys?
Good, thank you. Very good.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Tom.
Today's a Barnsley Sheffield Wednesday special, seeing as though we are Barnsley Sheffield Wednesday fans. We're going to be looking at how many points, we probably need to survive in terms of Wednesday, and how many for Barnsley to finish in the top six. So, firstly, what are your guys' thoughts on two teams and how they're going at the minute? Should we start with Wednesday and with Ed?
Yeah, I think probably the best time to do this now is after, obviously, the previous game. Having seen the two sides against each other. However,
No comment.
I think that masked a lot of issues we had, and perhaps was definitely just an off day for you guys. I envisage you guys to definitely get into the playoffs and have a real good go at make it to the Premier League. Perhaps it's a season too early for Barnsley, in my opinion. But then again, with your sort of transfer policy, is every season going to be a season too early because you do look to sell players in that sustainable model?
I think that is just a thing with Barnes. I'm sure Will would agree with me. It's a fair point to say it's a season too early, but this is the first time Barnsley have been as high up in the table in 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things where you go, yeah, maybe it's too early in the squad, and if we go up, we'll get pumped every week. You've got to take the opportunity, and there's no way Valerian Ismail will be our manager next season if we don't go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
He's a magician.
Yeah,
he's a magician, mate.
He's brilliant. Absolutely.
Who do you see coming in for him?
No one else.
It'll be Adam Murray.
Never heard of, but
Yeah.
to be fair, we normally
It
get
probably
the
will
job done
be.
when it comes to managers. But I think
Yeah.
for me, with the whole maybe a season too soon, I think the way the Premier League works at the moment, with the amount of money in it, I don't think there's a bad time to go into the Premier League. Because I think when we went up into the Prem last time, there was nowhere near the amount of money involved that there is now, and so going up to the Prem wasn't necessarily a good move financially because you didn't get all these parachute payments, etc.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment, if we don't go up this season, like Tom's already said, we'll most likely lose the manager. We'll certainly lose some key members of the squad, and there's no way we'll be looking at playoffs next season.
Yeah, I think
it'll be another rebuild.
I think for me, as sort of an outsider looking in, it's two things. One, what do you want to achieve from the Premier League? Do you want to stay up there for a sustained period amount of time? Or do you want to go up there, get the parachute payments, and then look to have a real sustained period of success?
You know what? Sorry, Ed, continue.
So the second point is, I feel like maybe this is just because it's Barnsley and, the little old Barnsley thing or whatever. But I look at that squad and I'm looking at Premier League quality players in that squad. And maybe Hellick, I think, could do a job in the Premier League. I think Callum Styles with the right development could, but is he too young? I'm not looking at the squad, I'm thinking, okay, Premier League clubs are going to come in for these sort of players in the summer. But perhaps that's my cynicism.
I think it's a fair point to make. You look at the squad. I agree with you. Hellick, I think, his Premier League quality is a brilliant centre half, and Styles will go on to hit that level if he continues his upward trajectory. But even looking at the squad and going, is there many Championship quality players when we sign these players? Like Carlton Morris had 4 goals for MK Dons in half a season. He's come in and he's been incredible. Like, seriously, the guy looks unbelievable. It's the reincarnation of Henry.
I'd love to see his goals per minute because that must be like ridiculous. The kid comes on as a sub, 30 minutes left, and like he just scores even the game against you, while it was only consolation in the end. Like he's got a knack for scoring goals, and clearly he's found the system that works for him under Ishmael, and he's having a great time.
Well, he certainly changed the game when he came on against us. I think, obviously, don't want to dwell on that game too much, especially you guys. But I thought I questioned Ishmael's changes at half time, bringing on like Apo Har.
Right, yeah.
I thought, bring on Sibic when I know he brings that pace, but I didn't really feel the need for that. But I thought that Morris, when he came on, was excellent, and with DK, you got a right partnership there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to answer your first question in terms of if we did go up, which would be unbelievable, what would we want? I would be more than happy to become sort of like Norwich. You know, you might go to Premier League, have a couple years, come down, go up, come down. But as long as the club's sustainable and the club can challenge at the top level of the Championship, I don't think there's anything more we can ask for.
I don't
It
think
is,
there'd be a
at the end of the day,
supporter.
we are just Barnsley.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be a support in the whole of Barnsley who would complain with that at all. If
No.
we could shift within the space of a season from being a yo-yo club between League One and the Championship to a yo-yo club between the Premier League and the Championship, that would be a dream come true.
Yeah, I definitely think. I remember the start of the season and seeing all your fans over Twitter. There was the whole Chenley out.
Oh, mate.
And
We had a
the
meltdown. We had a
Yeah.
meltdown.
Well, it was a meltdown, and you compare that to now, and it's amazing, the transformation and the positivity around the club, and then you contrast that to what's happening at Wednesday,
Yeah.
and you think we could do
Oh,
a bit
yeah, I
of that.
think rather than talking about hypothetical future, let's talk about the present and the ownership at the two clubs. It's, you know what? I'm not going to say the complete opposites because last season when we were struggling, you couldn't get a peep out of our ownership.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say the complete opposites, but Tejfon Chansiri, I know yourself, you are Chansiri out.
Yeah.
What do you make of his reign at the club? Because he's promised Premier League football, and as the way things are going, you'll be playing League One football.
Yeah, of course. I think you've got to look at those promises he made, and you can question whether he's stupid to make them. He probably was. But the fact of the matter is, he promised us to be in the Premier League in our 150th season. I seem to remember that was the 17-18 season. So, seasons past that. And, look where we are. We're languishing right down in the Championship. But I think the one thing with Chansiri, and this is one of his redeeming features, and I differ with some Wednesdayites on this, is that I really believe he cares about the club, and his investment shows that. Because if you have an owner that doesn't care, they're not going to be pumping too much money into the club, which is what Chansiri's done. It's not like he's trying to asset strip or anything like that. He just has such bad advisors with awful ideas, because the problem is that I feel they take advantage of him. I feel that, they, for some reason, feel that they can get as much out of this for them and con Chansiri into thinking he's running a football club the right way. Because but I think it's got past the point now where we can keep using that same rhetoric of, oh, well, he cares. Oh, well, he cares. No, I think we've got to move on to something. But then again, the grass isn't always greener.
I think what you might agree with this, Ed. I think one of the problems at Wednesday is partly to do with the manager situation, and I think Barnes is a prime example of getting a manager in, putting faith in him, trusting him, and Ishmael said all along he knew which players he wanted. He knew he wanted Carlton Morris through the doors at Oakwell, and he got him because the owners backed him. Probably the stats were saying all the wrong things, but they listened to him, backed him up, and look how it's paid off. Whereas at Wednesday, there's been that much fluctuating between managers. There's never been a time where there's a clear strategy at the club and clear players who they want to get in. And I think that's one of the problems.
Yeah, I agree with Will on that. You look at Pulis. I know he plays absolute tawdry football. I'm not going to say that Pulis plays great football, but you got him in and then sacked him in January. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
you surely buy the players that are going to keep you up in the manager's style, and the owner brought in Pulis and didn't want to back him.
Definitely. I think, there's 2 points there. Number one, just Will's point about there's no sort of forward thinking, joined up thinking about the future. I think that's perfectly summed up by about the past 3 summers. The idea is that this is the summer of rebuild, and then you go a year later and it's the summer of rebuild again. That says it all. Yeah. And on Tony Pulis, I think, by all accounts, there was a breaking down of relationship between Chansiri and Pulis from pretty much the minute he was announced. And you hear local journalists say stories about perhaps Pulis was going to resign anyway. So and you can was he promised funds and then not given them? Who knows? We'll never know probably. But was Pulis the answer? I'm not sure personally because he's I don't want to use the word dinosaur because I think that's often banded around unfairly.
You could call him that though because he doesn't play modern football.
The game has evolved, and I'm not sure he's evolved with it.
Because you could argue that Ismail plays a brand of Pulis ball.
Absolutely.
We play Pomo, the positions of maximum opportunity, right? So we don't want the ball in our half. What we do differently to Pulis is we don't play with a low block. We press high up the pitch.
Yeah.
So Pulis hasn't evolved with football. And I think football's left him behind.
This is my exact point. I think Pulis ball has a place.
To back him.
Yeah, I think Pulis ball has a place in football. Pulis ball, direct football, whatever you want to call it. Of course, he didn't make that brand of football. But I think that the problem with Tony was that he was perhaps a decade, two in the past, where he could get away with certain things. And, now obviously we had that period with Neil Thompson where it looked like we were going to be okay. Then results fell off dramatically. Then out of nowhere, we get Darren Moore, who is a manager that fills me with a lot of confidence, both in the short term. Will he keep us up? I'm sure we'll go on to this later in the pod. The short answer, no. But for the future in League One, I think he's everything this club should be striving to be, which is a club built upon the right principles, one who looks to get involved in the community, but on the pitch gets young talent, develops them, whether it's on loan, permanence, whatever, and plays with an identity.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that.
I agree with that. But it's gonna, for Darren Moore's style of football, what he does to a club, it's gonna need backing from the owners. Because if you look at Tony Pulis, like going back to him, when we played you at the reverse fixture at Hillsborough, you were trying to play Pulis ball with, I think, was it just Josh Windass running alone up front? We play direct football, but we have Daryl DK, Carlton Morris up there. Big lads who were the players to fit that style. You had a lone Josh Windass on his own. That was never going to work. And that isn't necessarily Pulis' fault because that's his brand of football. He was brought in to play that and he just didn't have the assets to pull it off.
Definitely. Look, you look at our striking options and the only possible target men in there, Callum Patterson, and I like Patterson. I think he's a good asset, but he's not really a target man. I don't think. Same with Jordan Rhodes. They're not target men. If you put a ball in the box, there's a good chance they'll get the noggin on it and direct it towards goal. But if you keep hoofing it up, they haven't got that strength and presence like a DK to really affect the game.
This is something I want to talk about in terms of who's in the Barnsley squad, who's in the Wednesday squad, the personnel. The Sheffield Wednesday squad is actually quite good. I think it's fair to say. You've got an out-and-out goal scorer in Rhodes. You've got a cultured midfielder in my view. I know Wednesday fans don't like Bannon, but in my opinion, I think Bannon's a terrific midfielder at this level. Your back three, or the back three you used against us of Burner, Lees, and Urigide, actually class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So look at the personnel of the Wednesday squad, and I think, even with the deduction, how on earth are you in the position you're in? And I don't get it. I don't get it. What could you shed a bit of light on that, Ed?
I think we could be here all day, but to put it simply, I think it comes down to a lack of consistency, both in manage. Well, obviously, if you're gonna have 4 managers in a season, there's gonna be issues. It's as simple as that. Obviously, including Thompson, and then also, I think first of all, let me clear something up. Barry Bannon, I agree with you. He's an excellent midfielder on his day in the Championship. Perhaps he's also not our worst asset, because of course he's not, because he can change the game, which a lot of those people in the squad can't. What he is he's a player who, and I completely get why, feels that everything has to come through him, because I genuinely think it comes down to he doesn't trust other players, and why should he? Because they're crap, right, half the time.
Yeah.
So if everything's coming through Bannon, naturally he then moves to sit deeper. And Moore actually tried playing him as a number 10 in his first couple of games. And still Bannon was coming back. And it's frustrating to watch. You completely understand why he's doing it. But yeah, and on the back three, I completely agree. I think Borna struggled in a back three before. Like, Borna in a back two has been a rock, like the German Van Dijk. But then when he's been in a back three, he's been like the German Anthony Gerrard, that quite stuffy centre back he used to play.
I know Anthony Gerrard, mate.
Yeah. I remember watching him for Carlisle a couple of 2 or 3 seasons ago. And I said to my dad, I said, how is that guy still playing football?
He just doesn't look like he was made to play football.
He doesn't.
Like the kid in PE you picked last, because he just doesn't look like he should play football.
Yeah.
He was actually quite good, though. But anyway.
Back onto Wednesday.
After that very nice diversion onto Anthony Gerrard, I think Azazi Urhoghide could make it right to the very top. I'm not sure how much of you guys, how much you followed this, but the whole Liam Shaw contract, will he stay, will he go?
I've followed this, yeah.
Yeah. At the time, I thought 100% needs to stay, but I still said Azazi Urhoghide, if given regular game time, will be the best youngster we have at this club. Because he showed it, glimpses, saw January last season when he played Brighton, Leeds, and then I think it was Blackburn, and he got sent off in that game, and then we never really saw him. But the strength and the pace he has, incredible. And also the work ethic. He seems to have a real good sort of moral compass, really. And just grounded, which, we've seen time and time again with youngsters that it can also go to the head, but he just is an honest, hard-working kid who's really impressing. And I think could stay. I really do.
Yeah, I'd love him at Barnsley, so...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I look at him and I think he'd be brilliant in our back three.
Yeah, if anyone's going to get the best out of him, though, I think Darren Moore probably is the man.
This is my thinking. I think with Moore, Azazi Urhoghide fits the complete player for Moore, if you get what I mean, in terms of someone he can develop, have that relationship with. But he's also ready to play football right now, regularly. And I think if we offer him the right terms, which is a huge if with Chansiri and his budgeting, then I think he could stay. And I hope he stays. I really do.
Yeah. And on to Barnsley's personnel.
Yeah.
I'm sure Will would agree with me on this. I'm going to get you to talk about it in more detail. But our squad is greater than... it's greater than the sum of its parts. So what I mean by that is our players aren't necessarily great players individually. When it all comes together in Ismail's system, it really works. So I'm sure, Will, you can expand on that more.
Yeah, I mean, if I just link it back to when Ed mentioned with Barry Bannon, which is how it feels sometimes like everything had to go through him and he was dropping back, etc. You might agree with this, Tom. I felt last season we kind of had that problem with Alex Mowat, where
100%,
everything through the midfield was through Mowat, which, like you say, Ed, meant he was coming back, and that's not where he needs to be. This season, we've seen... He was brilliant last season, but this season we've seen...
What's class, yeah.
A whole new level to Mowat, which is that sort of box-to-box, but lets him show his attacking prowess, and he's just absolutely brilliant. Like, he's a fundamental part of that team, and I'm sure you'll agree, Tom, there is not many things I want more than him signing a new contract.
No, it's got to the point where, conversation amongst fans, it's a case of, he's up there with your Hourihans, your Redferns, your Glavins, because he's so good.
Mm-hmm.
He's ridiculously good. I mean, he's the glue that holds our team together. But Will's right. It's the system what brings the best out of him. And Ismail and Moa, it's a dynamic duo, but the dynamite,
Yeah.
And also, it's just the whole team's improved. Mads Anderson, he's gone. He always had the talent. There's no question of his talent, and he had numbers in Denmark which were very good, which is why we signed him. Last season, he looked lost. He looked like he didn't belong in the Championship. He's now second in the league for interceptions and clearances. He's absolutely sensational. Michael Hellick, our scouting team deserves a pay rise for finding him for 600 grand. He's class.
So good.
Daryl DK and Carlton Morris, unbelievable players. Dominic Freesia. I mean, the guy, Freesia, right? Gerhard Struber signed him at the start of the season. I think Will agree with me. He looked okay. He didn't look anything special. Last few games, he's been incredible.
I think
He doesn't stop.
yeah, I think we needed to get out of our minds that you sign a winger and you think he's going to be this lightning quick, skillful, you know what I mean, that like stereotypical winger, and once you get your head around the fact that that's not him, he will run for 90 minutes straight and he will pressure that defence. And the amount of balls he's won from forcing mistakes that have led to either chances or even goals is like absolutely brilliant. And he loves to pop up with an important goal, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he scored this good goal in December. I'm sure you'll remember it, Ed. It was
Must remember that one.
Chernobyl away. Chernobyl away, Will.
I think it might have been, yeah.
No, I like Freesia from what I've seen of him. I think he's a good player. But just going back to Moa, do you think he will sign a new contract, or do you think it is solely dependent on how the rest of the season plays out?
It's dependent on how the rest of the season plays out. If we go up, I think he will, because he'd be the captain of a Premier League side.
Yeah.
But if we stay in the league, I've accepted he's going to go because he's got to the point in his career where he's a 30 grand a week player in the Championship.
Yeah.
He's a top tier Championship player. And at
Definitely.
the end of the day, Barnsley can probably, even if we were to break our wage structure massively, he could probably only get half of that with us being in this league.
Yeah.
So I won't hold it against him if he does decide to leave.
It's like you say, it's the exact same story of Conor Hourihane, isn't it? There was no hard feelings when he left. Like everyone completely understood it, and everyone wished him luck. And it'd be the exact same with Noah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to the remaining fixtures. We have actually done a prototype Championship forecast. From the averages of our tables, we've calculated that it would take 78 points to finish in the top 6, and it would take 41 points to stave off relegation. Looking at your fixtures, Ed, are you confident you can do it? I know you said you don't think you'll do it, but do you think there's a chance?
I think it will. We will know whether we can stay up or not at approximately 7:30 on Monday, because we've got 2 huge games in Watford away and Cardiff at home, the next 2, and I think I read we needed something like 6 or 7 wins from 9 to make the magic 50 points. Now I know we've got a 9-point lower total to stay up, but if we are going off whichever way we're going off, the fact of the matter is we need to win games and we need to win them fast. I think Watford away. Now, my only slight hope in this game is that they're on a run that you guys are on. Okay.
Yeah.
And we managed to break that run. But if we're being realistic, I'm not expecting to get anything ready from that game. So then it comes down to Cardiff. If we can get 3 points from these 2 games, I will still have a little bit of hope in me, because then
I'd like you to beat them 2 teams, because
definitely.
If you beat Cardiff, that'd be great for us, actually.
Yeah, I mean it's a Mick McCarthy side, isn't it? So we know what we're going to expect from them. But I think an interesting point I want to talk to you guys about, just to go off a little tangent, that is related to this, is the international break. Obviously, has come at crucial times for both clubs. Really, for me personally. I see the positives and negatives to the timing of it. I think the overwhelming positive is now we've had two weeks where Darren Moore can really instill his philosophy in the players, and we've come off the back of that good result. So everything is sort of positive is getting driven into this game on Friday against Watford. Do you think the international break came at the right time for the Tigers?
I'll go on first if you want, Tom. I would say yes, because we kind of saw the end of, like I say, that really strong run we went of, and I don't think that was anything mentally. I think that was purely physical, if I'm honest.
Yeah, definitely.
We've been playing 2 games a week for God knows how many weeks. we had the really slog over game away at Wickham on the Wednesday night before we played you, and while obviously we came away with 3 points, obviously we went down to 10 men. It was such to play. I imagine it was a very tiring game, and I think this 2 weeks, get the players back together, give them a rest, get their heads away from football a bit, and come back for this final run-in. I think it did us good.
Yeah, Will's right in that. Our players were tired, and you could see it for a few weeks because Barnsley were a team and we were non-stop for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And there'd been games, notably for me, definitely the Wickham game for 45 minutes in that match. The first half we didn't turn up, but we got a lucky penalty. Bournemouth away, we were terrible first half. Birmingham at home, we literally scraped that game by Daryl DK scoring a wonder goal. Now, I'm not saying we were poor in these games other than probably the first half against Bournemouth, but it was because we were tired. And I think this break's come at a perfect time for us, really. I think we'll really push on after it.
Yeah, I agree. Again, from a sort of an outside view, I think the break's come at the perfect time for you. So yeah, but just to go back
Wednesday. Sorry. What about Wednesday? The break, because you say that all the positive energy.
Yeah.
The Oakwell win will be going into the game on Good Friday. Do you not think that might have killed a little bit of momentum just having the 2-week break?
I think so. Yeah. There's definitely a case for that, but then, the fact of the matter is in the Championship this season is the amount of games you've been playing, and so I don't want to call out the players too much, because I don't like to question attitude that much, because I think they're honestly trying to give their best. It's just the best isn't good enough. But when you look at your performances and the intensity in those performances compared to the intensities of our performances, your players definitely did a bigger rest than we did. But I think it just comes down to that thing where Darren Moore, this is the first. There was an interview he did right at the start of the international break, where he said this is the first time we've been able to expand the training from little groups to full pitch stuff, which I thought was quite remarkable. That it has been so concentrated. So I think that's a positive. And then again, in the midweek, I can't remember when it was now, but we played. Our under-23s played Sheffield United, and I think only 2 players in that starting 11 hadn't played for the first team, and the first team on the 23s team had Izzy Brown, Elias Kachunga, Kadeem Harris, and we got spanked 4-0. I think it was 3 or 4-0.
Jesus Christ!
And you think that's bad, but then genuinely, Izzy Brown gets sent off in an under-23s game against Sheffield United. Now I don't actually know why he got sent off, but then he comes on Twitter, and let me just find the tweet for you. Because Izzy Brown, I like him, and I think he's been woefully underused this year.
Yeah.
And, he's a classic case of a player who, come out and give positive vibes only tweets, which I don't really have a problem with, because I think that's important. I do have a problem, however, when you're coming out after, I think it's 4 days ago, the game, coming out after being spanked by your local rivals in an under-23s game in which your first team was so first team quality, wasn't it? And coming out with the quote, "If you accept their disrespect, they won't respect you," and a shush emoji. Okay?
It's symptomatic of modern football, that.
And then liking tweets saying nobody will respect you when your attitude sinks. Your attitude is on par with a sewer rat. Liking these tweets. Even one said, "You got sent off in an under-23s game, Izzy." Yeah, I like that. I don't see the joined up thinking. He obviously he's either employed Joe Hart's media team or he's doing it himself. In which case,
our squad has some strange mentalities, though, because you've got that of Izzy Brown's, the positive vibes only, and then tweeting strange things about sewer rats. And then you've got Windass telling Joey Pelliapessi to what seemed like F off.
Yeah, I think that one, if I can just elaborate on that one, I didn't really, because take issue with that because I think, unfortunately, that's commonplace in all tiers of football. And from what you hear, Joey's one of the most liked characters at Wednesday. And I think Windass, well, if he's anything like his dad, let's just say he'll have that slight mardiness about him.
I
If
think
things are
for
going his
me,
way.
with that situation, from what I saw as like kind of an outside perspective, was
Yeah.
Pelupessy was not in the wrong whatsoever. That was the problem with me. Is he was always having to go at him when he was well in his rights to ask for that ball because he was in such a good position.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's the aspect of a striker's instinct. He's going to want to shoot, and I understand that. However, if I was the striker and I had a shot and a miss, I'd expect to turn to that player and apologise, not have a go at them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But again,
his dad's Dean Windass who tweeted, "I am a great mole roddle and I have made mistakes." So
no, I like Dean, and
I like Dean, but I'm a mole roddle.
just remind you to spell check, I guess. But I think the main thing about that incident was that, and again, I really don't want to keep bringing up the derby win against you. Or it's not a derby, but whatever you want to call it.
Hey,
but
did you enjoy your cup win?
I saw actually on Twitter they were doing a giveaway of the signed like team sheets from before the
game.
You're pathetic, mate.
No. Well, first of all, I'll just say the thing that did impress me was that Windass obviously squared it to Rhodes, and I'm not one of these Wednesdays like, oh, you're a little old Barnsley. You know what I mean? You're irrelevant because you're not. You know, you're our local rivalry. Obviously, you're not our biggest, but it's it's certainly a game you like to win. But yeah, I thought Windass squaring it to Rhodes showed to me that he'd learned from his mistakes and come a little bit less selfish.
If you just look at him purely as a player, I mean, I watched the game with my dad, and my dad did say it full time. He said, Windass has just been a thorn in our side all afternoon.
Yeah.
Because played on the last man, and he was really good at it. I mean, second half, I don't think he had as much success when we brought Sibic on.
Yeah. I think
on that right side, but he terrorised Solbauer first half.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Windass, can't forget, he was linked with a move to West Brom in January, which was ridiculous. But he's a good player. His problem is like all our players, is consistency. But at the minute, Rhodes and Windass are firing them in, getting assists, scoring goals. And Windass, if you give him a high line like you did, he will exploit you. I also think Andre Green, this is just a general point about Wednesday. I think Andre Green in the future will become a really important player. Famous last words, I know, but he just seems just dynamic, fast, pacey, strong. Something we've not had. I
don't know if this will mean anything to you or any of the listeners, but we had a similar player to when we went down in 2014.
Yeah,
we had Dale Jennings on the wing.
Yeah,
and he was really, really good for the last portion of the season, but we got relegated anyway, and he just never kicked on in League One.
Yeah.
So I honestly think some players thrive off being main man in a relegation threatened side. So I think Windass is probably one of them players.
Is Dale Jennings wasn't that wonder kid? He was meant to be incredible.
He played for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I swear he's like playing in Wales or somewhere now.
I think so. I know he was playing for Runcorn.
I'll Google it.
Yeah,
it says he's joined Prestat in town. In the JD Kimru. I'm not sure I pronounced that.
I would say it's a failed career, but I know he had mental health issues, and I know his daughter was really ill. So
yeah,
I think it's just one of them, innit? You know, for Bayern Munich, but
yeah.
Anyway, on to the main point. Do you think Sheffield Wednesday will stay up?
No, unfortunately, unless these two games go well, we're done. Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, we can pick up on that at a later podcast whether them two games did go well.
Yeah.
But what's your prediction? How many points and what place do you think you'll finish at the end of the season?
We've got 9 games left. I'm going to say I think we'll beat Derby. I think we'll beat Blackburn because that's just the sort of game we'll win. And then QPR. So say name a couple of draws. So I'll say what would that make? That'd make 11 points.
11 points, yeah. And you're on 38 at the minute.
I'm pretty sure. I will just No, on 32.
32, right.
Uh,
43 points, which would
40
be enough to stay up in our calculations. So we'll see. We'll see. I think it's it's an interesting one at the bottom because for me, I think there's 6 teams. Obviously, I think Wickham are down. I think Wickham are down.
Yeah.
Then there's you, Birmingham, Coventry, Derby, Huddersfield, and Rotherham.
Yeah.
And I think I do think Rotherham will be okay just because of the sheer amount of games in hand they've got. Even if they only convert a couple of them to wins, they should be okay. Let's look at the other end of the table then. How do you fancy Barnsley's chances of finishing inside the top 6 then, Will?
Yeah, for me, I don't want to say a shoe-in, but I strongly think we will get that playoff point. I even think we'll finish 5th. I think that 6th place will be very interesting. That battle between sort of Reading, Cardiff, etc., Bournemouth. But
Right.
yeah, I think the Reds will get the job done and finish on around 83 points is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, as an outsider, Ed, what do you think in terms of Barnsley finishing inside the top 6? Because it does seem like we are best placed to finish inside them. Our average opponent is placed 13th out of our last 8 fixtures. So
Yeah.
you'd imagine a few of the teams we're playing will either be on the beach, or on the last day we have Norwich at home, who will probably have secured the title by then.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I think, irrespective of the performance you put against us, I think that was just down to tired legs. I think you will have enough, definitely. I also think it's all well and good focus on Barnsley, but look at the chasing pack of Bournemouth and Cardiff and Middlesbrough. I don't think it is, personally.
Really?
No. Personally, I think Reading, obviously, are in 6th. They're very hot and cold. I think Bournemouth, God knows what their thinking was with Woodgate, and they've got no forward thinking there, which I find surprising. No. Cardiff under Mick, they've sort of not plateaued because they come up back of a win, but I just don't see them as really challenging. And then Borough,
they do have weaknesses. They don't have a left back, do they, Cardiff? So,
no. So I think you'll be safe. I think you'll get 5th. Unfortunately for you, Watford have kicked on. Otherwise, I would have definitely sort of put you within the Brentfords and the Swanseas in terms of going.
A couple of games ago, it was realistic to say, is definitely there a chance? We continue the run. Do we finish inside the top 2? I think we'd have to win every game from now till the end of the season if we did want to finish in top 2.
There was a point where all we needed was the teams above us to lose 2 games and we win them both, and we were on equal points. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculously close. I mean, that loss against you clearly didn't help our chances, but I think the fact that Barnsley and automatic promotion are in the same sentence is mind blowing compared to last season.
Yeah. You say mind-blowing, I say depressing. But, no, I also think the game against Reading, because that's your next game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
You win that, and you're guaranteed it in my eyes. And I think
I'm looking forward to that game against Reading because early on in the season we played them, but Struber was our gaffer. We lost 2-0, but we had 9 men. And we were pretty good that afternoon. I'm sure you'd probably agree with me, Will. Reading don't look that special. I think they've relied on early season form just for them to be in this top 6 because their results have been pretty middling since, October onwards.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's easy to say, but if they didn't have that sort of really good start they had, they're looking at a 13th, 14th place finish, aren't they, on their current form?
Yeah, they are.
They really dropped off, which I guess is understandable, but like you say, without that initial burst onto the scene at the start of the year, they'd be really struggling.
Yeah, 100%. I think Reading are they're just a very hot and cold team. And when we played them, first fixture was at home, and I think that was a 1-1 draw. And they had genuinely no word of a lie. 4 clear penalty shouts just waved away by the referee. God knows how we drew that game
against Sheffield Wednesday.
And then we obviously played them more recently and got spanked by them. I mean, that was down to Julian Bourne, a red card. in the first half. That we were never going to get anything from that game from then. Obviously, they've got Zhao, a player I know a lot about, having seen him for seasons at Wednesday, and I don't think Zhao will be able to cope with your defence, though, from the point of view that I think to break your line and to break down your defence, you've got to have energy and movement constantly, which I thought we did when we played you. Whereas Zhao, I think he's a really good striker, I do, but he's also one of the laziest strikers I've seen off the ball. He just literally ambles around, but then when he gets the ball, he turns into magic. So I think if you can keep him quiet, you can definitely get something from that game.
Yeah, I'd agree with the points everyone's made in the sense that I think we'll just be okay in terms of finishing inside the top 6. But that Reading game's huge. I think if we beat Reading, we are shoo-ins.
Yeah.
And I don't want to curse it because anything could happen with Barnsley. And then you start looking, if we really are going to go, to the end of the season, playoffs wise, if we finished 5th, which I think is probably most likely, if we do have a top 6 berth, we'd probably be playing one of Swansea or Brentford in the playoff semi-final. What would your thoughts be on a matchup, let's say, against Brentford? So I'm sure that'd be an interesting game.
I think I would much prefer Brentford than Swansea. Clearly, it's only recent history, but we love a game against Brentford, don't we? We've proven that. And Brentford do have tendencies to we've seen it happen, just drop off at the end of the season, just not look convincing whatsoever. And I think a team like I think when it gets to those playoffs, the 3 other teams, none of them will want to face that Barnsley team. Absolutely not, because playing against each other.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
I never thought I would hear that phrase. None of them will want to face that Barnsley team.
I honestly do. I think
he's right, though. He's right.
Because Barnsley are going to go into that they're going to go in as Barnsley. No one's going to want to lose to Barnsley, so you're not going to want to play them, are you? Because there's a high chance they might lose because of how well we've been playing. Yeah, it looks embarrassing. If you bottle the playoffs against little old Barnsley, that looks terrible on a team like Swansea.
I think also if you play Swansea, we know how much they love to get a bit of luck off the referee with the penalty. So
it's grim how lucky Swansea are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock them and say they're a terrible team or whatever. They've literally got so many game-changing decisions this season where you look at it and you go, right, that is very sus.
Yeah,
so, 2 games in a row, they had 96th minute winning penalties. Like, what is that all about?
Yeah. Neither were pens.
Yeah, that's the one against, was it Bristol City?
Borough, that
just
disgusting game. It was horrible, the refereeing in that game.
Yeah. I mean, from my point of view, if I was a Barnsley fan, Woberside, I would want it to be probably... I think I would rather face Brentford. I agree with you guys, because I feel like people have sort of sussed out Thomas Frank and Frank Ball, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to call it that, but you know what I mean.
Frank Ball's not a thing.
It's not. It's not established enough to be a thing. But you know what I mean. That sort of high pressing, attractive football that he played.
Yeah.
I think. Obviously, like I said, you guys love him against Brentford. But what will be interesting was if I think I'm right in saying this, that'll be past the date where fans will be allowed back, won't they?
Yeah, we'll be able to go.
Yeah, and is it like 10,000 max capacity or something, or have I made that up?
Well, I think so. I think it's either a third or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we'd be able to get 8,000 in Oakwell.
Yeah. Well, it's like a normal match day attendance for you, won't it? So that'd be nice. No, I'll stop now.
I look forward to seeing the state of Hillsborough in League One. I must say that could be.
Looking forward to you bragging about having the highest attendances in League One. Not to say.
But that's an honest question, Ed. What do you think? I know what Wednesday fans can be like. They're a bit, edgy. Will some of them just like leave and just not come back next year?
I think there's a lot of, I don't know. Obviously, you guys wouldn't have it because there's a lot of positivity there. But there's a lot of, I'm never going back. That's me done. You know what I mean? A lot of tweets like that. And we all know it's football.
They'll come back.
Actually, 100%. As soon as we're allowed back, and I think for every club in the 92, it'll just be brilliant to have fans back. And that's why I think genuinely, if you play so Brentford, obviously their fans will be able to go into their new stadium. I know they've been allowed in when it was tier 2 or something, but only a limited capacity. But also the return of Barnsley fans. What I think it will make for is really exciting playoffs all around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but no, I think Brentford are a side we all know how they like to bottle it, and I think they've sort of been found out a little bit now.
I think like I said, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but for me, if we were to make it, if we made it through the semi-final, I think that would be the big step. Can you get into the final? And then when you're in the final at Wembley, it's anyone's game, isn't it? There's no,
Definitely.
everything goes out the window. It's just who performs on that day, and then
Definitely.
you have just as good a chance as the other team. So I think it's just getting through that very difficult, very high pressure semi-final. And
Yeah, you guys have never lost at Wembley, have you? Or New Wembley?
I've never seen Barnsley lose at Wembley,
No.
but we lost the FA Cup semi-final.
Oh yeah.
That was like the millennium, though, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So.
No, that was 2008.
Oh, was it? Oh, right. So.
Then we lost at the old Wembley in 2000.
Yeah.
We've only ever lost one playoff final. We've won the other two we've played in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And we did affectionately rename Wembley Oakwell South a few years back.
Yeah.
So I think if it does come down to the playoffs, I think we've got a really good shot. It's just inherent of the podcast we're doing today that we're probably going to get a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But even if we fall away and finish 9th, this will be an incredible season, and I won't knock the players.
No, not at all. I mean, we're overachieving massively, and one thing that does slightly annoy me, with some of the Barnsley fan base is this. So, for instance, when we lost against Wednesday, it was like the rest of the season went out the window. It was, I can't believe we lost, all this, all that. Like, yes, all right, it's frustrating. Everyone wants to win that game, but it's not the end of the world. Like, it's just, we're in the scheme of things, beating Wednesday is lower on the priorities than what we're currently achieving. So I think we just need to be patient and have a look at what we're actually achieving, which is just brilliant compared to last season.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered all the things that we wanted to there. Just to sort of round off, Will, can I get your predictions on Barnsley's final finish, and that's with playoffs included and Sheffield Wednesdays?
Yeah, so I'm going to go Barnsley will finish, like I say, 5th place, around 83 points. We're then going to face Brentford in the playoffs. We'll play them away first. It'll be a grim 1-1, I'm saying. Then we bring them back to Oakwell. We'll beat them 2-1. We get to Wembley. Then we hammer Swansea 3-1 in the final, and we're in the Premier League. And Wednesday, meanwhile, are just, they're working out, getting their League One plastering all over the stadium. That's my opinion.
And what are you saying, Ed?
I'm going to say Wednesday will finish 23rd. And it'll just be a bit of a damp squib at the end of the season. And then I think you guys will finish 5th, play Brentford. Brentford have a little bit too much quality. And then hopefully sell all your best players, Flair and Ishmael goes, and it's back to relegation battle.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen, but I think Sheffield Wednesday will stay up.
What?
I think you'll stay up. I think you'll finish 21st. I think you'll stay up on the last day away at Derby. And I think Barnsley will finish 5th. We'll play Swansea in the semi-final, and they'll beat us 1-0 on aggregate with a lucky penalty.
I really would.
I think that will happen. We'll see what happens, and we'll be sure to update you on all the trials and tribulations of the final 8 fixtures on the pod. We'll have a match preview coming soon of all the Good Friday games, and we'll see you at another time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.